Hello, welcome to Should I Buy This Game featuring Diced Veggies. My name is Christine, and in this video I'll give you a brief description on how the game is played and then share a few things I may like or dislike about the game to help you decide if you want to add Diced Veggies to your collection. This is Diced Veggies. The goal of this game is to complete 6 recipe cards and get the most points. So to start off, I'm going to just talk a bit about the dice. To start, you put them in this frame so you can get a nice even layout of them, and then you remove the frame. And we'll be using that to put the dice in once we're done with them. Now the dice represent, the colors represent vegetables. So the green is pepper, then we have onions, tomatoes, carrots, and mushrooms. The number on the dice have 2 things. It has nothing to do with, say, like this is not 6 mushrooms. When you're getting dice, when you add up the dice you're picking, they cannot be more than 10. So that's the first reason why the numbers on the dice matter. The second reason would be is if you have a hype card, such as this one, where it says numbers must add to 19 exactly. And that is in regards to when you're building your recipe and you're choosing your dice. Once you have your 4 dice to complete the recipe, if they add up to 19, then you would gain those extra points. So to start, you have your cleaver. And if we look at our recipes here, we need mushrooms, onions, and tomatoes for this one. And here we need some mushrooms and peppers. So we come back to our dice block, and we can have to get them in lines, or you can do 4. And so I'm looking, this one has carrots. I don't really need carrots. Peppers, carrots. I'm just trying to think where, here's a tomato again with a carrot. Maybe what I'll do is go over here. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I could do that to get the 2 mushrooms. Or I could have come here and get the 6, 7, 8. So many decisions. Or I could get the peppers. Okay, I'm going to do the peppers. So it's 3, 6, 7, 8. I put my cleaver in, I move it over, and then I can add these dice to my recipe. So first, the thing you do is cut. Then you cook. But currently, I cannot cook a recipe, and then you get a card. So I'm going to get another hype card. This one says, you may discard an unplayed hype before cooking. Oh, we know what's going to happen there. I'm looking at you, hype card. And now this is the end of my turn. And at the end of the turn, you're only allowed 2 hype cards, 2 recipe cards, and 8 dice. So we're okay. So now your opponent will go, or the other people you're playing with. And they'll take dice and that. But just for the game's sake, I'm just going to show you what will happen here. So when it comes back to our turn, we know we can finish that one and start this. So I'm looking at these dice here maybe. So I'm going to cut. I put my cleaver in. I cut. I move 1 die here, 1 die here, and this is a spare die at this point. Now I'm going to cook. So to cook, I remove these dice, and we have our frame. I'm just going to put them into the frame, and this one is done. And I would just move it aside for the time being to know that I completed it. And then to get a card, I could pick one of these cards here, or I can pick one just from the top. Now I forgot here, you must discard an unplayed hype card before cooking. So before cooking, I should have done this. But this is how I could get rid of this card, put it on a discard pile, and then gain this card. So I should have done it before cooking, but just to show you, I would have done it here, and that'll get me 4 points later. So now I no longer have a hype card, which is fine, and it'd be the other person's turn. Now, just one other thing to show you is that this token here allows you to either change the color of the die or the number if you were going after one of those number hype cards. And you can do this once until all the dice are gone, and we restock, is what it's called, when we put out a new block of dice. And that is basically how the game is played. So now a few things I like about the game. One, I just love the fact that there's a cleaver in the game. Whenever there's any unusual additions, it really catches my eye. So give me a knife and I'll buy the game. The second thing I like is the unique way of using dice and how you add to 10 and then you just sort of cut them off like that. It's just that we haven't seen this way of using dice to represent the vegetables, plus the addition of the numbers or the hype cards with the numbers. It makes it all sort of fun and interesting. And then I also like that it's a fairly quick game to play. It says 30 minutes, but if you're playing with adults, it's less than 30 minutes to complete 6 recipe cards. Because once you start getting a variety of dice, you're completing your cards fairly regularly on each of the turns. And a couple of things we dislike about the game is, one is some of these hype cards are quite difficult. This one here, numbers must add to 25 exactly. All numbers must be the same. Numbers must include 5 and 6. And all numbers must be 5 or higher. And you're only allowed 2 of these at a time, and you pick one card, and a lot of times you're picking a recipe card. So sometimes you'll end up with some hype cards that you can never really use, and you'll maybe only get a chance to score 1 during the game. And then the other thing though, other than those challenging hype cards, overall the game is very simple. There's really no big strategy to it other than which color dye am I picking to add to my vegetables here or to my dishes. So it's a very simple game. So if you're looking for anything that's a bit more challenging, this may not be the game for you. However, because it plays fairly quick, it's a nice, easy, fun game. You know, as I mentioned, there's a cleaver, so it's a good way to spend an evening just chopping up your dice. So overall, we do enjoy the game. So let me know if you have played Diced Veggies and what you think of the game.